All right, today we are so excited to welcome guest chefs and farmers and of course home cooks to share a dish with you. We've got Natasha and Nathan from Canby Farm and Kitchen joining us, so take it away, you two.
Sounds good. Hi there, my name's Nathan.
I'm Natasha.
We are from Canby Farm and Kitchen, just located in Canby, just south of Canby.
It's 11.25 acre vegetable farm. We took over just last year. We're ex-chefs and fell into the farming business kind of naturally, and we're really loving it.
Yeah.
We're excited to share some of our delicious vegetables with you, and also some unique ones you might not know a lot about.
Yeah.
Cardoon is going to be on display today. It's a cousin of the artichoke. It's a lot more bang for your buck though, because you use this entire rib instead of just a tiny little heart on the inside. So we're going to show you how to prepare that. And
We're also going to be making a pesto out of some farm fresh greens that you might recognize from the farmer's market. This is sorrel. It's got a nice bright lemony flavor to it, a little tang to it. It grows wild also all over. And this is going to be your upland cress, which is a variety similar to watercress. The only difference is that it grows in the ground instead of water. Nice peppery flavor, full of magnesium and vitamin A and vitamin D.
a lot of health
Really
benefits.
healthy for you. And then we got some collard rob, which you'll be seeing a lot of rob over the next few months at the Montavilla market.
And that's, spring has sprung.
Yeah. So these are just the flowers of the plant that they come from, this being collards.
Just the tip, and like the mother plant that it comes from, it's going to have a lot of that same similar flavor, along with that really delicious rapini or rob flavor you recognize from
sweetness.
Yeah, from broccolini and things like that. So we're going to be making a dish with that, and yeah, we hope you enjoy. We're going to start with prepping our cardoon, since it's a little less known and a little bit, can be hard to deal with if you're not sure what's going on. You're going to want to take this guy and cut its ends off.
And while she's doing this, I'm going to go ahead and get some water boiling. And you're going to want to salt the water pretty heavily. The salted water will draw out the natural bitterness of the cardoon. So we'll be cooking the cardoon for about 45 minutes just to, again, draw out that bitterness and soften it up.
And on these, you're going to want to leave this middle part. It's going to look really feathery and like not a lot, just a lot of leaf. Don't want that. You want the big, thick celery ribs. And you're going to want to cut all these down and take them over to the sink to give them a good rinse, because we do just cut them right out of the ground. They might have some little friends with them, so we'll see. You're going to want to go ahead though, give you an example here, a nice big one. You take this, and you're going to want to cut your leaves off the edges. Put it down flat on the board, really similar to celery. Make sure you have a good grip on it. And you go ahead and just use the tip of your knife, and you're going to slice just the edge. I'll show you what I took off, just that little bit. You're going to do that on all of your ribs, and once you're done with that, give them a quick rinse like I said. Meanwhile, Nathan will start taking you through some of the pesto prep.
All right, so we're going to start our pesto. So I like to use sunflower seeds, which are easily accessible, a lot less expensive than pine nuts, a lot less likely to burn as well, which a lot of people have issues with pine nuts and burning them. And they also have a really nice flavor in pesto. So what I'm going to do is get a sheet tray. I got my oven preheated to 350.
Oh, I think it's right behind the camera right there.
And then we're just going to toss those in the oven for probably, I don't know, 5 minutes or so.
You want to keep checking them. They're pretty small. The smaller seeds you want to make sure they look pretty quick. So I'm also cutting this down in half before I give it a rinse, just so it's a little bit easier to stick in our pot of water we have. Easy to deal with. Now done with
You can even cut them into the size that you want.
That's true. They hold their shape. Yeah.
Which we'll probably do that, right?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna rinse them now because I just have a bunch of little bits.
So the next step is we're also going to need to clean all of our greens. Everyone should have one of these in their kitchen. I, for some reason, did not have one for years and recently got one, and it's like mind-blowing how much time you save on washing your greens. So I personally will just kind of rip these, pop them in here, and you can just rinse them in here, give them a good rinse, shake them out, stir them, do a little shake around in there. Make sure there's no slug friends.
Alright, and then if you got your compost bin, you can go ahead and compost the rest of this. Not necessary. Use these and get your station cleaned up. Alright, like Nathan was saying, we're going to go ahead and cut down those pieces of cardoons since they do hold their shape. Nice. So we're going to do probably about 1/2 inch pieces. Do we want to do?
I'd say bite-sized pieces.
Bite-sized pieces?
Good,
So you probably want to split your rib in half.
When you're doing a pasta dish, I would say just kind of match the size of your
That's so true.
ingredients to the size of your pasta.
Exactly.
When you're getting a spoonful, you're getting a little bit of everything.
Exactly. So all of these fun and unique items we have on our farm growing. We like to have them at the farmers markets. We also have a CSA membership that we like to include. A lot of these unique veggies, we have recipes on our website online where you can find how to prepare, some fun recipe ideas, that kind of thing. We're also both at the farmers markets on the weekends. If anybody has questions, you can stop by the booth, ask us whatever, share some tips. We're always open. Just because we're former chefs doesn't mean we know everything. It's true.
So I'm going to go ahead and clean this cress now as well. You want to pull off any of the yellow leaves. That's just kind of the younger leaves dying off usually. And then you'll just, same thing, I just take the top there, rip it like that, and you can use that whole thing. Since it's going into pesto, it's totally fine to have some stems in there. It's not going to hurt anything. And a lot of the flavor is actually in the stems.
And the nutrients as well.
Yeah.
That's so true. A lot of people take the stems off their cilantro, for instance. We're all flavor. Alright. Just about done on this cardoon here. Once we're done with this, we've got hot salted water. Make sure you salt it like the ocean. And we're going to go ahead and put that on for 45 minutes at a light simmer. I don't want it boiling out of the pot. A lot of people think you boil and it goes fast. It's not true. So when you have a recipe that says you're going to want to lightly simmer something, what you're going to want to do is, everybody knows what a light simmer looks like. Bubbles are coming up from the bottom, they're really small. When they start getting larger and the surface is starting to move, that's when you're at a low simmer. When you start seeing the water moving quite a bit, larger bubbles on the top, you're at a boil. A lot of people think that a boil is a simmer and they end up overcooking potatoes, vegetables, mushy. And so you want to make sure that you start at a pretty medium temperature. Don't crank it on high and throw, if you want to do that, put it on medium, put a lid on to get it going quicker. And then take it off, allow it to come to temp, and then add your veggies.
Yeah, the reason you don't want to boil certain things also is because the heat and the movement of the boiling pot is going to damage the proteins and the molecular structure of the vegetable.
The nutrients will zap right out.
Zap it right out, and
Yeah.
also create a texture that you don't necessarily want.
You want to get any water in that saute pan. Water in a hot saute pan, just so you know, oil will cause lots of popping.
Please. I'm going to get the garlic smashed and peeled. So with the garlic, I just go ahead and give a good smash to get all those cloves out. Separate our cloves here.
And there's no rocket science to grating the cheese. You can grate it on the largest setting that you want because it's all going to get blended up together.
Yeah. And if you have a Roboku or food processor, you can also use the grated attachment.
Yes.
We're going to use that for the pesto anyway.
It saves you a lot of time and fingers sometimes.
So for the garlic, I use a whole bowl.
You
I'm
like-
obsessed with garlic, so
you
I
like-
don't really have too much of that. So just give it a good smash each one. Get it out of their paper.
Yeah, and you want to make sure that your knife, if you're doing this, is flat on your garlic and you don't move your knife. Don't do any of that weird smearing stuff that you see on TV. Just hold it on there flat and firm and hit towards the spine of the knife away from the blade. All right, you're gonna want to, your rind of your cheese is probably gonna be a bit hard depending on what kind you're using. If you're using Parmesan.
Yeah.
And so if you can't get down, don't force it. You can save this to the side for soup. Really delicious little tidbit
Yeah,
there.
it's a lot of fun stuff. You could actually just throw it in your pasta or in your water with the cardoon.
Oh, yeah.
This in there, and then
Boom.
take it out and just eat it like that. It's like
Mhm.
chewy and
Really good. We're done with this. Are we using? No.
No, I think that's the only thing we're grating.
All right, your cheese is grated. You can set this to the side. It's kind of nice. You have everything all, as we call, mise en placed out, ready to go. I will. Over here. Okay.
Alright, so I got all the garlic peel. You're just going to take that little brown tip off, as that is bitter.
Yay, our timer.
So with the sunflower seeds, you're just looking for a light golden brown. We just need probably another minute or two. So you'll also kind of get that nutty smell when you're getting close.
Will you cut my lemons?
Of course, right?
And you always want to rinse your
Give it a
fruit
good
or,
roll as well.
yeah, it's kind of loosen up the pulp on the inside so you can get an easier cut and the juice gets flowing. You also want to rinse all your citrus and fruit. A lot of people forget to do that. The rind can be really dirty, and when you cut, it'll make it go into the inside.
Also at home, I like usually zest all my lemons
Yes.
before I use them. Just you never know when you're gonna need some lemon zest.
Yeah, you can pop it in the freezer in an airtight baggie or a container, and it stays for.
You can freeze it too,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, it's really good in the freezer. And when you're squeezing a lemon, a really easy way to not get seeds in without using a mesh strainer is just use your hand.
Yeah.
Put it underneath.
Alright, so I got the garlic prepped. I got all the little brown bits off of there, and then I'll just give them a smash just to get some of those oils out. We're going to be putting it in a food processor, so there's no real need to ice it or chop it down anymore.
I think we grabbed one. Oh, that's perfect.
Sunflower seeds?
Ah, thank you.
I'm smelling.
We just got reminded about our sunflower seeds again because we forgot to reset our timer. That will happen while you're cooking.
And they're perfect.
Yay!
We'll just set those off to the side, let them cool down.
It does take some practice to get really good time management. This guy has got really good time management.
Usually. Has been a few years since I've cooked in a kitchen professionally.
That's right. Farming hard. So we actually grow a lot of unique vegetables on our farm that relate to our cooking and our chefing. That's why we're trying to showcase our cardoons and our sorrel and things like that. Like we had said earlier, things that people might not be super familiar with, not have seen before in a grocery store for sure. I'm just trying to get the word out there that there's so many things that have beautiful flowers that you can actually eat. They're in everybody's yard all the time.
So, let's see, order of operation for the pesto. I like to start with the liquids and the garlic first, kind of get that going so it'll blend up into a nice kind of a puree kind of situation. So I'll put the garlic in there, the lemon juice, and just put the olive oil in there. And a lot of people will tell you to drizzle it slowly. I don't really think it matters at the end of the day because it's going to emulsify while it's in there anyways. I mean, same with like vinaigrettes. Oftentimes I'll just put it in a jar and shake it up, perfectly emulsified. It's a common misconception that you have to slowly drizzle it in there.
And do you add your nuts right now?
No, I like to add the nuts after. I do it kind of in a step process because I want to get these garlic all blended up, puree first.
Okay.
And you want a little of that texture.
Spices or anything? I sometimes do some salt, just for
Yeah.
like a coarse texture.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, just to like catch on,
Changes up, yeah.
right? A little bit.
Just salt. You don't want too
Yeah.
much because we're going to add the Parmesan, which is salty.
Yes.
So, then,
Depending on what kind of cheese you're using, definitely Parmesan has a higher salt content. Keep down your salt you're putting in at the beginning.
Notoriously difficult to navigate.
Always.
Alright, so I got the garlic and oil and lemon juice blended up. You can see how it's emulsified and broken down all the garlic. So that's our first step there. We'll put that back on. And then we're going to throw the seeds and the cheese in there. To
I'll
get
throw
that
the seeds.
together.
Seeds are cool mostly.
Wonderful. So let's just start with that much. Oh, let's go the whole thing. Can't have too much cheese.
Very true. And I'm just preparing our rapini or our raw, just taking off its little fans, gonna give it a quick rinse.
just want to get that a little blended in there because you still want some texture. You don't want to puree it down to mush. Get those sides scraped down. Probably need a little bit more liquid in this as well. I'm going to add some more olive oil. Might need a little bit more lemon juice, but we'll see where it's at with the texture there. So I'm just going to go in with the greens next. I like to do the greens at the end just because they don't want to be blended that much, because the more you blend it, the more you're going to damage the cells and kind of you'll end up with browning in your pesto. So let's do like half of each so far. It's nice because the sorrel also has that kind of lemony flavor, so that'll add to like the lemony flavor of pesto, and you get a little bit of pepperiness, a little spiciness from the cress. It's also kind of just fun to, I mean, you can make pesto pretty much out of anything. Right? We make kale pesto.
With pecans.
Yeah.
Any kind of nut or
Any
seed.
nut,
pretty much.
green,
Mhm.
So just do a couple pulses. So we'll kind of scrape things down, get it folded in there. I like to do a pulse because that kind of makes things bounce around in there instead of doing a full blend, which will just kind of blend
Swirl
on the
it.
very bottom and kind of won't move things around as much. So you kind of see we're getting there. I want more green in the pesto, so I'm gonna put some more of the greens in there, and then we'll give it a taste, see where we're at. Since this is for a pasta application, it doesn't need to be super wet. If you're using it for like a dip or a spread, you can definitely add more liquid to it, like thin it out, more of your lemon juice and your olive oil.
While you're tasting that, so I'm just gonna take our rapini or our rab. It's about this big, and that's it's a little big, so we're just gonna cut it right in half. And the stems are really tasty. It's where a lot of the sweetness is. So you're gonna want to include those. Ooh, that looks good.
I think that's going to be a good texture and a good color. That's what we're looking for. Flavor's good.
Yeah, that was fun. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, very good.
Oh, it's very cheesy.
Yeah.
It's really bright with that sorrel in there.
Right.
The sorrel is very delicious. It's a really bright reminder that spring is here or just around the corner. Right, this time of year, the past month, it's been exploding on our farm. Inside, outside. It's wild.
Yeah, sorrel's great. It makes a great juice too. If you
It does.
like
For
juice.
dressings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great for juice.
we've juiced it before. Used it
Yeah.
for salad dressings. You can even use it as a syrup for a drink.
The key to pasta is you want your water to be as hot as possible, and you want it to remain hot as possible. So at least like 4 to 5 times the amount of water into your pasta. You can get kind of excessive because the more surface area, the more water you have, the less likely the temperature is going to drop when you add your pasta to it.
That's very true.
Yeah, and if the temperature drops and it's not boiling, then that's when you can kind of get gummy pasta or it'll stick together. Because the movement of the boiling water is going to keep them moving, keep them from sticking together as well.
So we dropped our, I don't know if you saw, we dropped our Parmesan rind into our Cardoon water, and it smells amazing. It's flavoring as well as double use.
Yeah. So at this point, we're kind of just going to wait for our pasta water to come to a boil. Well,
Did you salt?
yeah. Oh, no, I didn't.
So you want to make sure you salt.
Yeah.
I'm all about salting all the water. Salt your pasta water for sure every time.
For flavor, it's a myth that it makes it boil faster.
Yeah, no. And this one doesn't need to be quite as salty as the ocean as your Cardoon water.
We're just going to put this on really low for now, just to get it going. And we're going to put a little bit of just canola oil for now. I don't usually like to cook. If I cook with olive oil, it's got to be a blend. You want to do like probably 60-40 canola or grapeseed or avocado or whatever. Because the olive oil is really just for flavor. And the canola oil is so it can reach that high temperature for sauteing. But for right now, we're just going to do it on super low, and I'm going to have just oil and just a pinch of red chili flake. We'll just let that kind of absorb into the oil and release some of its heat and some of its flavor in there. And then meanwhile, we're gonna stare at this water until it boils. Actually, don't look at the water because a washcloth.
That's so true. So, also, like a side note, it's really fun to get into a lot of spices, a lot of seasonings when you're making a new dish and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm using all these new flavors and I want to add things. Just be careful how much you add. We're adding a little bit of salt and red chili flake to what we're making, but the other flavors are really going to come from the ingredients themselves. We use a little lemon, but yeah, the spiciness of the cress, the lemony citrus of the sorrel,
The sweetness from
the rapini,
the mild
exactly.
bitterness of the cardoon.
Yeah, so you kind of want to let those shine. Just add a little bit of salt as you go. Taste as you go. Make sure you're tasting your food. I'm bad at that. Helps a lot, especially when you're making a combined dish with a lot of different components that you can make.
You want a balance of flavors.
Exactly.
There's always a way to fix most dishes. If something's too salty, add acidity. If something's too spicy, also acidity.
That's so true.
You can balance all these flavors.
Cooking is very forgiving.
Yeah.
Baking awesome. So you turned our pan on. It is a non-stick, so you're gonna want to get it warmed up first. Then add your oil, and he's blooming his chili flakes, I think he said. Get them fragrant.
Yeah, I like to use the non-stick skillets for pasta dishes, especially because we're going to toss the pasta in there.
We don't want it to brown.
Stick, and also you're not going to get any brown with the non-stick skillets. So if you're looking to brown something, don't use a non-stick skillet. It's never going to get there.
So I just went ahead and checked on our cardoons, and most of them are sinking to the bottom, and we are getting near our time when they're going to be ready to pull out and strain and add to our dish. So that's also another way you can kind of tell if you've lost track, how much of a timer. You can peek in there and see if they're mostly sinking.
Also pull it out and taste it.
That's true. Yeah, make it spoon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the right one.
Great thing about cardoons is it holds its texture really well. So if you forget about it, continue simmering it for another hour, it's not going to change much. It's really sturdy.
Yeah, like Nathan said, I don't know if you can see it from there. It's like literally just a little, same exact piece, doesn't mush really when I...
Yeah. Oh, still bitter? Good.
Almost there.
Almost there.
So close. So I'm draining the cardoon, so you want to make sure anytime you're draining anything, don't go too high up. Wait for most of your water to drain out before you go ahead and pour the rest in. That way it doesn't splash up and burn, you know?
Alright, we're boiling. Alright, so we're going to toss the pasta in here. And we're going to give it a good stir for the first 30 seconds. Just to keep the pasta from settling to the bottom or sticking. And we're going to let that come up to a little warm temperature. You don't want to drop your food into a cold pan.
It'll absorb the oil. Yes, that is a very good thing to know. I made that mistake a lot when I was not knowing how to cook very well as a home cook, and I learned that your pan always needs to be hot before, or warmed up at least a bit before you put anything into it, especially if you're using oil. Yeah. We also, like I had said, you want to make sure you kind of pat your vegetables dry. The more water they have, and then it introduces into oil, it's going to splatter at you, so be careful of that. It was always a little surprising before I got used to that.
A little trick too, if you want to see if your stuff is hot enough, you can drop it in there and it'll start to simmer a little bit. Drop a little water in there. And
Very true.
now we have a nice hot pan. So we're just going to toss our I can't want to say broccoli rabe. Pretty close. It's a collard rabe. So we'll toss our collard rabe in there. Get that going. We'll do a little salt on there. So the rabe cooks really quickly, and you want to kind of have some of that texture when you're all said and done. So we're just going to cook this probably for a minute or two until we add our cardoons there.
And then also, turn it off.
Yeah, we can take a lid off now that we're at full boil. Perfect.
You ready? Tell me when you're ready.
Yeah, I think so. Look at our cardoons. Now they're starting to turn. You can see they're kind of darkening in color, losing that light color. That's where you're getting getting to the point where it's starting to cook and break down that structure.
These are also going to be your cooked and finished cardoons. They're going to be a little bit duller in color, but still with that same texture profile. And it does help to cut them before you cook them, just so you get them all uniformly cooked. Background-wise, everybody, we have some tree trimming going on. Spring is truly sprung in the neighborhood. So we're just gonna talk up here a little bit so y'all can hear us. So Nathan's just doing the final saute before we add our pesto. And when we add our pesto, everything's really gonna start coming together.
Yeah, that'll be like kind of the last thing, because you don't want to cook the vibrancy out of the menu.
But do you add your pasta first or your pesto first?
I add the pasta first.
You do?
Yeah.
All right, I think are we pasta ready?
Yeah,
How do you
I
feel
think
about the
so.
pasta? Orchetti actually takes a long time to cook. I
It's
should have
thick.
said that.
Yeah.
It's really thick
It
pasta.
doesn't look like it's thick, but it is.
It is.
Alright, so we got our pasta pretty close. We're about a minute out,
Yeah.
I would say. So we're just gonna crank this back up and get it going. That way it's nice and hot when we toss our pasta in.
And this will happen sometimes where you have pauses and you're not as great at timing things out, and that's more than fine. Feel okay to take something off of the heat, off of the burner,
Yeah,
set it to the side. A lot of times I would get frantic and things would burn and oh my god, people coming over, and it's okay, just set it to the side.
Yeah,
It's
it's not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah, it's not gonna go anywhere. It's gonna walk away.
Yeah. Alright,
So-
now you can hear that. It's getting going.
And meanwhile, I'm gonna go ahead and drop our pasta, get it strained out.
Oh, wait.
I'm saving some of the water.
Yes.
Yes,
So
I'm saving some of
what
the
you're gonna want
water.
to do is you're gonna dump your pasta in there pretty quickly and then immediately put the strainer back on the pot. So any excess liquid
captures.
is just gonna drop into the pot.
Okay.
We're gonna use that liquid.
I love that. We also took some of our cress that we didn't use in our pesto, and we're gonna go ahead and use that as a garnish for the spiciness to go on top so it's fresh.
Toss the pasta in here. You can totally do more pasta if you want. Depends on how many people you're serving.
Okay. Wasn't sure if you tossed it in yet. I'm unsure about the pasta water, y'all. If you're wondering, this isn't my thing.
I did work the pasta station with EQ for a couple years.
You work the pasta station. That's why I'm like, you got it.
We're just gonna put a little bit of water, just to moisten everything up. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and turn that off.
There's
And we'll
also
start putting our pesto in here.
starch
Like half of it maybe.
in your water from your pasta that's
Yeah.
left over, and that's kind of why you pour it in, is you're tightening up everything. You're tightening up your sauce, any kind of liquid in there. It's going to bring it all together, as well as a little bit of that flavor. It's going to have make it one complete dish. Sauteing gets messy. Here, I'll set this to the side. All right, we're in a big bowl.
Just gonna put just like maybe a tablespoon of water in there. That'll loosen up your pesto, make it into more of a saucy consistency,
Make it nice and
as
cohesive.
well as combine kind of everything together.
Yeah. You're just really looking to warm everything all together and get it combined and mixed thoroughly. So the pesto is kind of on each bit that's in there.
What's great about this too is you can eat it cold the next day. It's like a
Yes.
pesto pasta salad. Like,
Yes.
You know, you can also use the same pesto for a pasta salad or for slap it on some bread.
Bread, I was gonna say, it's our go-to. We
Put
make
it in your eggs in the mornings.
big
Great.
batches of pesto, especially in summertime.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love pesto. And you can make it out of like any nut. You know, we do
Yeah.
pecan, we do almond.
Basil is classic, you know what I mean?
Orange
It's
basil's classic.
really delicious, but I like
You can also add herbs to this.
Yeah.
Any other herb, you
Mhm.
know, lemon balm or oregano, thyme.
Yeah, we have done actually both lemon balm and oregano.
Yeah, we're all nice and incorporated there. Let's give it a taste, see if we have enough pesto in there. And again, that's kind of a preference, personal preference.
I was gonna say, I like it really saucy.
I like a lot of pesto in mine,
Same.
some people don't.
Well, the orchard depends what kind of pasta you use too. Some of the pasta will take in more of the sauce than other pastas will. This one's more of a flat ear pasta, so it's not going to take quite as much.
Oh, that's good. And we can also put some pesto on top as a garnish. Yeah, so that's it right there. I mean, that's enough to feed at least 2 people, I would say.
Some leftovers, depending on how hungry you are. I mean, I'm not joking. Oh, that looks amazing. I'm gonna You're gonna put a little pesto, like a dollop on top, just to spread around. Yeah. And there you go.
Beautiful.
Thank you for joining us and cooking with us today.
Yeah. Hope you enjoy
yeah.
and
Take some of our tips
eat
and
lots of greens.
eat lots of greens.
Spring.
Yeah. And have a happy summer.
And come see us at the market.
Yes.